Good day, political aficionados and connoisseurs of the utterly chaotic. Welcome back to the British Report, where we dissect the headlines with the precision of a surgeon and the glee of a child let loose in a sweet shop. Brace yourselves because the political Arthur scale has just hit a 10. We've all seen Keir Starmer navigate a sticky interview with the grace of a man walking through a room full of mousetraps, but nothing compares to this. Picture the scene. The BBC, thinking they are serving up a lovely soft-boiled celebrity puff piece, accidentally unleashes a cinematic powerhouse. Tom Hardy, the man who played Bane, Cray and Mad Max, decided to take off the mask and show the Prime Minister what raw truth actually looks like. 15 minutes of pure, unscripted carnage left Downing Street spin doctors reaching for the smelling salts. The footage is being scrubbed, the establishment is sweating and the internet is on fire. Quick favour, if you're loving this, hit that subscribe button. Over 92% of viewers haven't yet. It's free, takes a second, and means the world to us. Thanks if you did. Now, back to the show.
Now, one thing is for sure, Sir Keir Starmer is not acting in our national interest. He hasn't done it over Chagos, he hasn't done it over the Chinese mega embassy, or over illegal immigration, Islamist extremism, the Pakistani rape gangs, the economy. He hasn't acted in our best interest when it comes to our energy bills, the education system, small businesses, farmers, pensioners, pub landlords. Who the heck is our Prime Minister working for?
Right then, let us set the scene. It was supposed to be a standard safe as houses BBC evening slot. Soft lighting, gentle banter about Hardy's latest blockbuster, and perhaps a quick rehearsed nod to current challenges from Starmer. The Labour PR machine had mapped it out like a royal wedding, but they made a catastrophic error, assuming that because Tom Hardy is a Hollywood star, he would play the glamour card and stay in his lane. They forgot that behind the red carpets and Oscars is a kid from Hammersmith who hasn't forgotten the smell of reality. The moment Hardy walked on set, the atmosphere shifted from a polite dinner party to a high-stakes interrogation room. Starmer extended his hand, the standard politician, "I am a normal human" greeting, and Hardy stared at it as if it were toxic waste. 3 seconds of dead silence. The host tried to laugh. The host failed. Then Hardy leaned in. The initial confrontation was not just awkward, it was a psychological dismantling of the Prime Minister's carefully constructed man of the people persona. Hardy's voice wasn't the shouty, theatrical Bane growl. It was quiet, controlled, and absolutely lethal. He looked Starmer dead in the eye and asked, "How do you sleep at night?" The studio went so silent you could hear a mouse sneeze in the rafters. Starmer, ever the forensic lawyer, reached for his training, searching for a deflection, a look, let me be clear. Or we inherited a mess, but Hardy was not there for a legal debate. He had receipts, he started listing names, not percentages, not average households, but real people. The 73-year-old pensioner in Manchester choosing between heating and blood pressure medication, the small business owner in Birmingham forced to lay off her staff after 15 years because of new tax burdens. Every example hit like a sledgehammer to a glass house. Starmer tried to respond with the usual script about difficult decisions and long-term planning. The political equivalent of telling someone who is drowning that the water levels are expected to recede by 2029. Hardy cut him off instantly. "Don't give me the politician answer," he snapped. "These aren't statistics. These are human beings. And you're sitting there in your designer suit, protected, guaranteed your salary, talking about sacrifice, like you're the one making it." The camera caught a flicker across Starmer's face. Not a smile, but a crack, irritation, contempt, and that barely hidden arrogance of someone used to being the smartest person in the room, suddenly realising he was being outclassed by someone who does not follow the Westminster rulebook. The sheer intensity of Hardy's delivery left Starmer looking like a deer caught in the headlights of a very large, very angry truck. His net favourability rating has recently plummeted to -57, matching the rock bottom of Liz Truss, and you could see why on that screen, a man who had spent too much time in briefing rooms and not enough time in the real world. Hardy didn't just attack his policies, he attacked his soul, pointing to Starmer's straight into politics career path, lack of struggle, and contrasting it with the grit of everyday British life. "I know what it's like to watch your parents choose between bills," Hardy said. You've never struggled once, and it shows in every policy you push.
13 U-turns and counting. Perhaps we should begin to feel sorry for Sir Keir Starmer, because everything he touches turns to ashes and wormwood. He has the reverse Midas touch, that he doesn't seem to be able to get anything right. Take the recent events with Donald Trump.
This was class warfare, but not the kind you find in textbooks. It was visceral. Hardy pointed out that while Starmer is off visiting China with blue-chip business leaders, the average Brit is being crushed by the cost of living. He mentioned the approval of the new Chinese embassy near the Tower of London, suggesting it was just another sign of an elite that values global deals over local concerns. Starmer tried to pivot to complexity and balancing interests, but in the face of Hardy's raw conviction, it sounded like a man trying to explain the chemical composition of fire while his house was burning down. As the tension boiled over, the host desperately tried to steer the ship back toward movie gossip, but Hardy was having none of it. When asked about his upcoming films, he looked at the host with such withering contempt that the poor man practically shrank into his chair. "You think that matters right now?" Hardy asked. "The country is falling apart, and you want movie gossip. This is exactly the problem. Media and politicians more interested in distraction than truth." It was a total breakdown of the celebrity interview format. Hardy was not there to sell a film, he was there to air the grievances of a nation that feels unheard. He turned directly to the camera, ignoring Starmer and the host entirely, and spoke straight to the British public. "If they are struggling, they aren't imagining it. They don't care," he said, gesturing towards Starmer. "They built a system that protects them and exploits you. They're counting on you being too tired to fight back." Starmer, trying to regain some semblance of authority, dismissed it as populist rhetoric, a catastrophic move. By calling legitimate suffering populism, he only proved Hardy's point. It was the ultimate mask-off moment, the leader of the country dismissing a raw emotional appeal as mere political theatre. The disconnect wasn't just a gap, it was a canyon. Hardy tapped into the feeling that the British government has become a private club for those who have never had to check their bank balance before buying a pint of milk. He highlighted the ping-pong process of legislation, where bills are batted back and forth between the Commons and the Lords while real lives hang in the balance, and raised the inheritance tax for farmers, noting that it's not just about land, it's about the security of the nation's food supply. Starmer's response? Talking about fixing the black hole in public finances. Hardy's retort was devastating. "The only black hole I see is where your empathy should be." The suspense in the studio was electric. You could almost hear the earpieces of the BBC producers melting. They were caught in the middle of a live political execution, cut to a commercial, and they'd be accused of censorship, let it run, and they were broadcasting the end of a Prime Minister's reputation in real time. Starmer tried one last time to fight back by questioning Hardy's credentials, suggesting that actors should perhaps stick to entertainment and leave grown-up decisions to the professionals. Hardy didn't even blink. "If being a professional means failing this many people and still calling it a success, I'll take my chances with common sense," he said. The fallout was swift and brutal, revealing a lot about how the British establishment handles uncontrolled honesty. Within minutes of the broadcast ending, social media exploded. Then something strange happened. The official clips began to vanish. The BBC issued a formal apology for the confrontation, promising to review their booking procedures. A polite way of saying, "We will make sure we only invite people who follow the script from now on." The establishment response was entirely predictable. Call Hardy unstable, uninformed, or attention-seeking. Anything to avoid addressing the actual data he brought to the table. Because here's the kicker. Hardy did not just bring emotion, he brought numbers. He dismantled Starmer's talking points on NH wait times, the tax burden, and the failures of independent trade policy, with the precision of someone who had done their homework.
Pretty boy Andy Burnham might have found a route back to Parliament via a by-election. Is this Keir Starmer's worst nightmare?
You could end up with an even more left-wing Labour Party. I mean, those of us on the right think this Labour Party is catastrophically left-wing and has wreaked extreme damage on this country as a result of its absurd policies. But just wait until we get the next Labour leader.
Camilla, everyone assumes that the strongest challenger to Keir Starmer within the Labour Party would be Mayor of Manchester, Andy Burnham. The problem is, he's not in Parliament.
This was not celebrity virtue signalling, it was a political execution. Hardy pointed out that Starmer's so-called courage to make tough choices was actually cowardice in a nice suit, because the person making the decisions faces none of the consequences. Drawing on his own background, raised by an artist and a comedy writer, overcoming addiction and legal trouble, Hardy showed that he understands the messiness of life. He contrasted this with the sanitised, straight-arrow existence of the Prime Minister, demonstrating that, no matter how much complexity and nuance exists, if the end result is taken from people with nothing to protect those with everything, it is simply legal corruption. In the days since the broadcast, the Hardy effect has sent shockwaves through Westminster, and the aftershocks are only getting stronger. Polling suggests that his intervention has resonated far beyond the usual suspects of political dissent. Even lifelong Labour voters reportedly felt a pang of. He's got a point. The image of Starmer looking small, defensive and red-faced while a Hollywood actor took him to task is one no glossy party broadcast can erase. It has become a meme, a rallying cry and a source of genuine panic for the government, which is desperately trying to pivot back to the global Britain narrative. But it's hard to talk about global influence when you can't even command a television studio in White City. There is even talk of a Board of Truth, an unofficial group of public figures and community leaders planning to hold regular reality check sessions to counter the government's official lines. If this gains traction, it could be the most significant challenge to the traditional media political complex in decades. Starmer is discovering that in 2026, the public is no longer satisfied with managed news. They want the raw, unfiltered truth, and if they have to get it from the guy who played Eddie Brock, then so be it. As the credits rolled on the most watched 15 minutes in BBC history, the question on everyone's lips was, can Starmer survive this? The media will try to bury it, framing Hardy as an emotional actor who doesn't grasp the realities of governance, highlighting Starmer's upcoming trips and measured leadership style. But the damage is done. You cannot unsee a Prime Minister being told he was promoted beyond his competence by a man the public actually respects. The 75% of Britons who now see Starmer unfavourably finally had a voice on the national broadcaster, and that voice sounded remarkably like the guy who once played the Cray twins. The reckoning Tom Hardy started is only beginning. Whether you love his films or not, you cannot deny the power of someone speaking the truth without fear of consequences. The establishment can erase the footage, but they cannot erase the memory of a Prime Minister being held to account by the people he claims to represent. It's a brave new world in 2026, and the old political theatre no longer works. Thank you for watching.